My girlfriend captioned, "You can't lose what's not meant for you after leaving me for my cousin. Betrayal burns in a way nothing else does. It crawls under your skin and stays there, reminding you of every word, every smile, every plan that now feels like a lie." I was 28, saving money for a ring, working extra hours, dreaming of a future that felt so close I could almost touch it. Maya was my calm in the storm, the one I believed I would grow old with. My parents adored her, my siblings admired her, and my cousin Malik treated her like a friend of the family. He was charming, loud, always cracking jokes, the kind of man who could walk into a room and own it. I trusted him completely, like the brother I never had. It began so subtly that I convinced myself it was nothing. Little comments from Malik under her photos, playful and teasing. Group chats that somehow turned into private conversations. Whenever I entered the room, they both went quiet, followed by awkward laughter that I tried not to read too deeply into. Maya started changing too. She became distant, distracted, as if her mind was always somewhere else. Her phone was glued to her hand, the screen always tilted away from me. One evening, I finally asked if something was wrong. She sighed, said I was overthinking, that Malik was family, and I should stop being paranoid. I believed her because I wanted to. I told myself trust was stronger than suspicion. I convinced myself that love made me immune to betrayal. But the small cracks grew wider. She started canceling plans, staying out late, and giving excuses that didn't add up. When I asked if she still loved me, she said she needed space, that life was overwhelming and she needed to find herself again. Her tone was calm, almost rehearsed, like she had said it to herself many times before. That night she packed a small bag. There were no arguments, no tears, only a chilling quiet that felt heavier than shouting ever could. I watched her walk out of the door, and something inside me whispered that this was not about space or confusion. This was goodbye. The next morning, my phone lit up with notifications. Maya had posted a photo on social media. She sat in a car, smiling faintly, sunlight brushing her face. The caption read simply that you cannot lose what is not meant for you. My heart froze as I looked closer at the reflection in the car window. It was Malik's car. The same dented mirror, the same faded seat covers. My stomach twisted. The realization didn't come like thunder. It came like slow poison, sinking deeper with every second. I didn't call her. I didn't call him. I just sat there, staring at the screen, feeling something inside me collapse quietly. Every plan, every night spent dreaming of our future, every word of love felt like a cruel joke. Family gatherings flashed through my mind. Moments when they shared glances I brushed off, the laughter I thought was harmless, the way he always found an excuse to drive her home. The betrayal wasn't only hers. It was his too. The man who had grown up beside me, who shared my secrets, who toasted to my happiness during our last family dinner. I felt like I had been robbed in daylight while everyone pretended not to see. I walked out of my apartment that morning and kept walking. I didn't know where I was going, only that I couldn't stay still. Every street, every cafe, every song on the radio reminded me of her. I sat on a bench near the park where we had our first date and tried to remember that version of her. The laughter, the warmth, the promise. But all I could see was the post, the caption, and that reflection in the window. People often say time heals everything. In that moment, I didn't believe it. Some wounds don't heal, they just stop bleeding. I went home, opened my drawer, and looked at the small velvet box I had hidden months earlier. Inside was the ring I planned to give her next month. Simple, elegant, something I thought matched her perfectly. I closed it, placed it back, and realized that I had been planning a future with someone who was already building hers elsewhere. That night, sleep never came. I stared at the ceiling, listening to the hum of the city outside. Every sound felt louder, every second slower. By morning, I wasn't angry anymore. Just empty. The kind of emptiness that follows when trust dies. I checked her page again. The post was still there, now flooded with likes and comments about how strong she was, how proud people were of her for choosing herself. I wanted to scream that strength built on betrayal isn't strength at all, but I didn't. I just closed the app, set my phone face down, and whispered to myself that someday, maybe not soon, I would stop caring. But that day wasn't today. Not yet. There are moments in life when your body moves faster than your mind, when pain turns into raw electricity and logic disappears. That was me the night everything fell apart. I dialed her number again and again until my hands started shaking. Each time it went straight to voicemail, and hearing her recorded voice felt like a punch to the chest. I called Malik too, but he didn't answer either. The silence between us screamed louder than any confession. My mother found me pacing in the living room, trying to piece together the fragments of what had just happened. She told me maybe I was misunderstanding. That family should not be accused without proof. But the proof was already out there for the world to see. It was in that photo, in the way she leaned toward him, in the caption that mocked everything I had ever given her. For 2 days, I barely slept. I went through old conversations, searching for signs I had missed. Every laugh, Every plan for the future now looked like evidence of deceit. I stopped eating, stopped answering calls. I just sat there, watching the sun rise and fall through the same window where we once stood together. My body was still, but my thoughts were on fire. I imagined her sitting next to him, laughing at my foolishness, telling him how easy it had been to move on. Then came the family lunch. My mother insisted I attend, saying it would help me distract myself. I almost stayed home, but some part of me needed closure, or maybe I just wanted to see if it was true. The moment I stepped into the dining room, I froze. Malik was there, sitting comfortably at the table with her beside him. Her hand rested lightly on his, the same hand that once held mine. The room buzzed with polite conversation, but when I entered, the air changed. Everyone fell quiet for a second, as if waiting for a storm to begin. They looked like a couple showing off their new relationship, smiling too much, laughing too loud. My aunt leaned toward another relative and whispered that love works in mysterious ways, as if betrayal had suddenly become poetry. My chest tightened. The world blurred for a moment. I didn't remember standing up, but I found myself on my feet, staring directly at them. Malik shifted in his seat, his confident grin fading into discomfort. Maya kept her eyes on the tablecloth. I turned toward my aunt and said that she was right. Love truly is mysterious, especially when it finds comfort in your cousin's bed. The words hung in the air, heavy and sharp. The entire table fell silent. Forks froze midair. Malik's mother gasped. No one moved. Maya's shoulders trembled slightly, her fingers twitching around her napkin. Malik opened his mouth to speak, but I was already walking away, my heartbeat drowning out everything behind me. I stepped outside, took a deep breath, and realized that nothing would ever feel the same again. The betrayal wasn't only romantic, it was blood deep. Family had become stranger, and love had turned into something poisonous. I got into my car and drove with no destination, the road stretching endlessly ahead. The city lights blurred past, but my mind was fixed on her face, on the memory of her laughter mixing with his voice. That night, I went home and opened my gallery. Hundreds of photos stared back at me: birthdays, trips, lazy Sunday mornings, smiles that no longer meant anything. I deleted them one by one. Each click felt like cutting off another piece of myself. But when I was done, the emptiness didn't disappear. Erasing pictures doesn't erase the feelings. They survive in smells, in familiar songs, in the quiet hum of an apartment that once echoed with laughter. I tried to sleep, but my mind replayed every moment. The way she used to reach for my hand without thinking. The way Malik had stood next to me during my last birthday toast, clapping louder than anyone else. Now both of them were gone, but their absence filled the room like ghosts refusing to leave. In the following days, my phone kept lighting up with messages from relatives asking what had happened. Some pretended to be shocked. Others quietly admitted they had suspected something. Their sympathy felt hollow. I realized people love gossip more than they love truth. I stayed silent. Let them talk. Let them spin their stories. I had already lost too much to care about their opinions. When morning came, I made coffee for one. The mug felt heavier than usual. I looked around the apartment and saw traces of her everywhere: the scarf she left on the chair, her favorite cup, a half-used bottle of her perfume. I gathered everything, placed it in a box, and left it outside the door. By evening, it was gone. I didn't know if she came for it, or if someone else took it. Either way, it didn't matter. What mattered was that for the first time, I woke up the next day without checking her page. The pain was still there, but it was quieter. Betrayal had burned everything, and all that remained was ash. But somewhere beneath that ash, a small part of me knew that one day, something new might grow. Not forgiveness yet, not peace, but a fragile beginning. Time moved differently after the storm. The first few weeks were chaos, filled with questions that had no answers. But eventually, silence became my new routine. I moved out of the apartment we once shared and packed my life into boxes that felt lighter than I expected. I started therapy, something I never thought I would need. The sessions were uncomfortable at first, peeling back layers I had buried under pride and pain. Yet, each visit helped me breathe a little easier. I also started running. Every morning before sunrise, I laced my shoes and ran until my lungs burned. Each mile became its own form of revenge, not loud or dramatic, but quiet and patient. The more I ran, the more distance I created between myself and the man who once begged for explanations. Months passed, and people slowly stopped mentioning their names. The whispers faded, replaced by cautious smiles from relatives who didn't know whether to pity me or avoid me. I learned to find comfort in solitude. My work improved, my health stabilized, and for the first time in years, I started feeling proud of the person I was becoming. Then, just as I began to believe peace was permanent, fate reminded me that healing rarely comes without tests. It was my uncle's birthday, a family gathering I almost skipped. My mother insisted that I go, saying it was time to face the world again. I agreed, thinking I could handle it. I was wrong. When I walked into the garden, surrounded by laughter and clinking glasses, I saw them. Malik and Maya. Matching outfits. Holding hands as if betrayal could ever look romantic. They moved through the crowd like celebrities, smiling for everyone who looked their way. My stomach tightened, but I refused to give them the satisfaction of a reaction. I greeted relatives, sat quietly, and tried to focus on my plate, though the food tasted like nothing. Then came the toast. Malik stood up, glass in hand, the same confident grin that once made people like him. He thanked the family for supporting their journey, as if their relationship had been some noble challenge they overcame rather than the product of deceit. The room applauded, and for a moment, I thought the sound might break me. But I didn't move. I just stared at him, memorizing every word, every gesture, every flash of arrogance. Later that night, after most guests had left, I stepped outside for air. The moonlight cut through the trees, and the air felt heavy with humidity. I heard footsteps behind me and knew who it was before he spoke. Malik stood there, hands in his pockets, wearing that same easy smile he always used when he wanted to downplay something serious. He said there were no hard feelings, that things just happened, and that life had a strange way of working out. I looked at him and felt something I didn't expect. Pity, not for what he did, but for what he had become. I smiled faintly and told him not to worry, because every thief feels safe until the door locks behind him. He didn't respond. He just nodded awkwardly and walked away. That night, I slept better than I had in months. It wasn't peace exactly, but it was a sense of release. For once, I didn't feel the urge to prove anything. I realized that revenge doesn't always need noise or spectacle. Sometimes it lives in silence, in progress, in the quiet confidence of moving forward while others remain stuck in the mess they created. A few weeks later, life rewarded that silence. My manager called me into his office with unexpected news. I was being promoted to regional director, a position that came with a significant raise and relocation to another city. I packed my things, left the apartment I had rented after the breakup, and started a new chapter surrounded by strangers who knew nothing about my past. The city felt cleaner, the mornings brighter. I met new people, focused on work, and built a life that finally belonged to me. I didn't announce the promotion. I didn't post about it or boast. I wanted this victory to remain private, untouched by gossip or validation. But the internet has its own way of spreading stories. A colleague tagged me in a photo from my office celebration, a simple picture of me smiling with a glass of champagne. I barely noticed it until I checked the post the next day. The first two views were familiar. Maya and Malik. I stared at their names on the screen and laughed quietly. Not the bitter kind of laugh that hides pain, but the genuine one that comes when you finally understand that winning isn't about revenge. It's about peace. They had spent months trying to justify their choices while I had been rebuilding myself from the ground up. For the first time, I felt grateful for their betrayal. It had pushed me out of a life built on illusions and forced me into one built on strength. I turned off my phone, stood by the window of my new apartment, and watched the city lights shimmer below. Somewhere far away, they were probably scrolling, maybe regretting, maybe pretending not to care. But I didn't need to know, because this time, the silence belonged to me. A full year passed before I went home again. Life had changed in ways I never expected. The promotion had turned into a new lifestyle, a new rhythm, and a new sense of self. I had built something solid, free from the noise of the past. For months, I didn't hear their names, didn't see their faces, and for the first time, I didn't care to. But the past has a strange way of showing up when you least expect it. That summer, my cousin was getting married, and the entire family insisted I come. I hesitated for weeks, but in the end, I decided to go. It wasn't about them anymore. It was about proving to myself that I had moved on. The wedding was in a large hall filled with music and laughter. I walked in wearing a navy suit, calm and composed, greeting relatives who looked surprised to see me. The energy was warm, joyful, almost enough to make me forget. Then, across the room, near the buffet, I saw her. Maya, standing alone, glass in hand, looking smaller than I remembered. There was no ring on her finger. Her smile was faint, almost rehearsed. She turned, and our eyes met. For a moment, the noise around us faded. The girl who once shattered my world now looked lost in her own. She walked over slowly, hesitation in every step. Her voice trembled when she spoke, asking how I had been, as if the words themselves carried the weight of everything left unsaid. I smiled, calm and unbothered, and told her the same line she had once used to justify leaving me. You can't lose what's not meant for you. Her face froze, her eyes filling with a sadness that no words could hide. It was then that I realized the rumors I had heard were true. Malik had cheated on her, not just with anyone, but with another cousin in the same family circle. Their picture-perfect story had collapsed quietly, and now she was standing in front of me, trying to hide the cracks. I didn't feel pity. I didn't feel anger either. What I felt was peace. The kind that comes only when time and truth finally align. I asked nothing about Malik. I didn't need to. Her silence said everything. She tried to hold a conversation, to create some bridge back to the person I used to be, but I wasn't that man anymore. I wished her well, nodded politely, and walked away before the nostalgia could cloud my clarity. The rest of the evening went by in a blur of laughter and music. I danced, I talked, I lived. For once, I wasn't pretending. I was genuinely happy. When the night ended, I took a photo with friends, all of us smiling under the golden lights. I posted it later, captioned with the truth that had taken me a year to understand. Some things you lose are blessings disguised as heartbreak. Within minutes, she liked it. That small notification appeared on my screen like a whisper from the past, one final echo of everything I had survived. I didn't block her. I didn't delete the like. I just let it sit there, quiet proof that the tables had turned without me ever lifting a hand. Malik's betrayal had become her burden. My pain had become my growth. What once destroyed me had rebuilt me stronger. And she, who once believed she was freeing herself, was now trapped in the same emptiness she left me to face alone. As I lay in bed that night, I thought about how strange life is. A year ago, I would have done anything for her attention. Now, her presence meant nothing more than closure. I realized she had been right in a way she never understood. You really can't lose what's not meant for you. You simply make space for what finally is. I closed my eyes and felt the kind of calm that doesn't fade. The kind that tells you the story is truly over.